Is the Sinder situation a possible case of defamation by implication? That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Now, this video is going to have chapters, and everything covered in the video has already been covered. I'm just bringing attention to the point that this situation is a possible case of defamation by implication. Now, keep in mind, this is horrendously biased, like extremely biased, so keep that in mind moving forward. So, what is defamation by implication? Defamation by implication occurs when a statement, though factually true, creates a false and defamatory impression about someone. It's not about direct lies, but rather about how true statements, when presented in a certain way, can suggest something harmful or negative about a person. This can happen by juxtaposing facts, omitting information, or using suggestive language. Some key elements of this are true statements, false impression. The core of defamation by implication is that the statements made are factually correct, however, the way they are presented creates a false and harmful impression. Juxtaposition or omission. This can be achieved by placing seemingly unrelated facts side by side, creating a connection that isn't there, or by leaving out crucial information that would paint a different picture. Defamatory and inference. The implication must be reasonably understood as defamatory, meaning it must tend to harm the reputation of the person being discussed. Intent or endorsement. In some jurisdictions, the plaintiff must show that the publisher either intended for the defamatory inference to be drawn or endorsed it. So that's some things about defamation by implication. Now, is defamation by implication a crime? It's not. Defamation by implication is not a crime, it's a form of civil wrong known as a tort. While not a criminal offense, it can lead to a lawsuit where the defamed person, the plaintiff, can sue the person who made the defamatory statement, the defendant, for damages. So, if Sinder wanted to, she could try and sue Shylily and Nano for defamation by implication for damages. Now, will she do it? I have no clue. I'm not Sinder, and I don't know her personally to know if she will. This is just an assumption put out there. Now, some characteristics that Google went into about this whole thing. So, civil wrong, not criminal. Defamation, including defamation by implication, is a tort, meaning a civil wrong and not a crime. Intent matters. To be liable for defamation by implication, the defendant must have intended to convey the false or misleading implication, or at least have been aware of the high probability of the false meaning. Burden of proof. A plaintiff in a defamation by implication case must prove that the defendant intended to convey the false or misleading implication. True statements can be defamatory. Even if a statement is literally true, it can still be defamatory if it implies something false or misleading, says Abrams Fensterman. Context is key. Courts often consider the context in which a statement was made to determine if it was defamatory, says Law Shelf Educational Media. Now, I went down a rabbit hole and I just simply asked, what is a tort? And a tort is a civil wrong that causes harm or loss to an individual, leading to legal liability for the person who caused it. It's essentially a wrongful act other than a breach of contract that results in injury or harm and for which the law provides a remedy, typically monetary damages. Let's flubbed it there. Now, where did this idea of is the Sinder situation a possible case of defamation by implication come from? Well, back when the Sinder situation was fresh off the presses, I can't talk. Not only did I discover Powder's doc, I discovered YasuVF stock. And YasuVF posted on X on May 7th, 2025 with 2 Google Docs. One where they take the time to analyze the whole thing and determine whether or not the case of defamation by implication can go through, and the second Google Doc is just a public crash out. It really is just a public crash out. So if you click on this, click on the link, you'll be taken to YasuVF's Google Doc, and it's called Sinder versus the Clout Coven. And then there's a personal introduction, and they go on to say, my name is Yasu, I'm not a lawyer, nor am I affiliated with any party involved in this situation. I'm simply someone who watched this unfold and found myself increasingly disturbed, not by the existence of conflict, but by the way it was handled. I'm not writing this to exonerate or condemn anyone by default. My goal is to analyze what's been said, what hasn't, and what's been implied, and to do so with a level of discipline that I believe has been missing from most public conversations around this. Emotion has value, but it can't substitute for evidence. rightfully so, goes on to the objective statement and says, this paper critically examines whether the public actions and statements made by Bao, Shylily, and analysts rise to the level of reputational defamation or malicious misrepresentation against Sinder, who is treated as the plaintiff for the purposes of this analysis. Though not a legal filing, this document is structured with legal scrutiny in mind and seeks to apply a defamation framework grounded in case law and standards for public figures. Now, they go on to talk about the Bao-Shylily paradox, which I think is very interesting, skipping the case introduction, but you guys can look at it later because there's just so much information in this doc, and goes on to explain the Bao-Shylily paradox. First part. If Bao and Shylily viewed Sinder as a friend, then choosing to air grievances publicly, knowing the size and aggression of their fan bases, implies foreknowledge of harm. That is to say, they knew going public would damage her, yet did so anyway. This opens the question of malice. If they saw her as a business partner, their actions resemble strategic defamation, calculated public disclosures, and leveraged emotional framing to cast Sinder in a morally reprehensible light, while increasing their own moral authority. Finally, if they saw her as both friend and business partner, common blended VTubing, then the failure to separate emotional disappointment from professional conduct constitutes either gross negligence or intentional framing. Now, if you're wondering what the conclusion here is, well, we can just go here real quick. The preliminary conclusion, and it's right up here. Upon thorough evaluation of the available facts, contextual framing, and the legal standards that govern public figure defamation, the plaintiff presents a case that meets the preliminary threshold for actionable harm. The conduct of the defendants, Bao, Shylily, and analysts, reflects a pattern of emotionally charged, publicly disseminated statements that appear designed not only to express grievance, but to shape public perception through selective framing and implication. Now, granted, remember at the very beginning, in the personalized introduction, Yasu says they're not a lawyer, so take this with a grain of salt, but this person put in a lot of effort into this, so I encourage everyone to take a view at this. But essentially, yes, there is defamation by implication. That's essentially what the doc says there is. So if you want to check it out, I'll provide a link to it in the description below. But back to the matter at hand. Defamation by implication. So, next that I have planned in this video is, why don't we go through the Google Docs and see if there are any characteristics of defamation by implication, if there is any. And remember, I said this is extremely biased, so who knows, maybe I could be not right. So, let's go ahead and go to the Google Doc that started it all, Nano's Google Doc, and let's just scroll through it, okay? We'll just scroll through it, and we'll see if there's any, possible cases of defamation by implication. And of course, I said it's heavily biased, so we're going to go straight to the part that I want to talk about, which is this one right here. So, in this part, Nanolis makes this claim. Red asked me to cancel one of their closest friends, Bao, by asking me to cancel my work mid-progress. That is the claim that Nanolis said herself in this Google Doc, and then provides a screenshot to support this claim. Now, when you look at the screenshot, which takes place on August 5th, 2024, 4:13 p.m., Redacted asks, did you cancel models? And then the rest of the screenshot is just a convo between Redacted and Nanolis. Okay? And, I mean, of course, there's Redacted saying, you shouldn't be scared with Bao. To cancel with Bao. Encourages that. Now, tell me, viewers, come on, tell me. Anywhere in the screenshot, where in this screenshot does Redacted ask Nanolis to cancel Bao's model mid-progress? Where in it? Do you guys see it? I don't see it. I don't see that. All I see is Redacted asking if, did you cancel models? That's it. That's all I see. So then that begs the question. Why are we, the viewers, not given proof of this up front? If Redacted did tell Nanolis or ask Nanolis to cancel Bao's model mid-progress, how come we're not seeing that verbatim here? Clearly Nanolis has screenshots of the convo, so it had to have been mentioned somewhere in them, right? But the fact of the matter is, this screenshot doesn't have that claim that Nanolist is saying. Nowhere in that screenshot does Redacted ask Nano to cancel Bao's model mid-progress. Nowhere in that screenshot does Redacted say that. So what does this mean? True statements, false impression, which is a characteristic of defamation by implication. Now, moving on from that, we have a screenshot. We have a screenshot here. It's the first screenshot in the doc. January 15th, 2025 at 8:29 p.m. Now, if you look at this, you can see that there's like one name censored. That's it. Now, I'm going to show you something in Bao's doc. And it's very interesting, and I've already covered it, but I feel like it's worth bringing up. Do you see this screenshot on the screen right now? I hope you do. You guys see it? Yeah, I think you guys see it. This is a screenshot, which is the same one you see in Nanolist's doc. Same time frame too. January 15th, 2025, 8:29 p.m. Same thing, except, that's right, guys, there are two sentences here that isn't in Nanolist's screenshot. The two sentences in question are, blank hurt one of our friends pretty bad, and I can't really say much more than that since it's not my drama to get into. And the second sentence, again, this is all secret talk, la 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 la. So, there's two sentences there. Okay, if we go back to Nanolist's doc, whoa, that's crazy. It's not even in there. Huh. Omission of information, huh? What is that? Juxtaposition or omission? Interesting, interesting. Now, whether or not it affects the situation, no idea. But I'm just here to show you that there was information omitted in Nanolist's doc that isn't omitted in Bao's doc. Oh, another case of this? Let's go to the exclusivity portion here. So this is in the section of exclusivity and blacklisting of the creators. Let's look at the screenshot on January 15th, 2025, at 9 p.m. If you look in the bottom of the screenshot, you can see Nanolist's message at 9:05 p.m. is cut out. It's just cut. This is the exact same screenshot. That is in Nano's Google Doc. It is, except, you know, it's just censored. However, here's one tidbit. The message at 9:05 p.m. is not cut off. Nanolist states, it do be fair, but, okay, can I ask for Demon Sinder figure? Exhibit A. Exhibit B. Oh, what is that? What is that? Juxtaposition or omission. Wow, that's pretty crazy, guys. That's pretty wild. Okay, and then that's a characteristic of defamation by implication. Let's go to Silvervale. This is a big thing. This is a big thing. It's a can of worms that I don't feel like going into, so I'm just gonna do the surface level of this, okay? So, Silvervale made a claim. She makes a claim. Right here. She states, I had a new Live 2D model in the works for my birthday with Nano, which was eventually cancelled. I was devastated as Nano was the one who originally asked if she could do this model because she was excited to make it with all the new things she had learned, and my birthday was special. At the time, the reason given was health and stress reasons, which made sense given how much was on Nano's plate, and despite my disappointment expressed by support for her prioritizing her health. I am now aware that the actual reason for her declining to work with me on my birthday model was external pressure from Redacted and Sinder. Words cannot describe how heartbroken I was and am. Okay. Followed up with a screenshot from November 17th, 2023 at 10:31 p.m. Nanolist. Silver, I have to cancel the model comm. I'm sorry for my manager told me I have to cancel the most comms possible for healthy reasons. I've been working too hard and it's getting into me. I really apologize for this inconvenience. Nanolist herself tells Silvervale, healthy reasons, I gotta cancel. Silvervale says, I was looking forward to it so much, I love your art so much, and I've been so excited for a new model from you. I understand, though, you have to prioritize your health and taking care of yourself. I hope your health improves and you feel better. Make sure to get lots of rest and relaxation. And Silvervale's right. Guys, like, when you're an artist, right, and you're overworking yourself, that's bad. Sometimes, like, balance your workload. You need to take care of yourself. So, in this case, I understand why Nano is canceled. Like, she needs to take care of herself. She does, and that's a thing. So I will say I understand why she would cancel for healthy reasons. But then, I go back up here And Silvervale says, external pressure from Redacted and Cinder. Okay, so after this screenshot that we just read, we go to a convo that happened about, what? Let's see, about November 17th, November 25th, so about like 8 days later from what I read. So because this convo with Redacted and Analyst occurs on November 25th, 2023. So we go all the way down to the screenshot. And this is where the external pressure kicks in, as I assume it to be. But we can go ahead and look through all the screenshots here for the November 25th, 2023 conversation. Redacted, right? I know, I just didn't think our other conversations sound like I was trying to make you not work with her on a model, like Silver specifically. Maybe I just considered the situation too much. My mistake for thinking this way. Redacted, it's okay, Analyst, but are we good for real? This feels like a weird breakup. I'm stressing. Redacted, me and you are good, but I still have to tell all this to Cinder. It'll be fine. Don't worry. I think she's still sleeping. Analyst, I try to be transparent as much as possible. I think it's more fair for both sides this way. Redacted, you didn't tell Silver you canceled because of Cinder, did you? Analyst, no, I told all of them it was health issues. Redacted, dead Cinder emote. Analyst, I would never blame anyone besides Mio. Redacted, lol, we never want to make you feel like we're making you or forcing you to work on and not work on something, especially if it's something you don't want to do, and our conversation the other day wasn't meant to convince you of only doing Cinder work. Again, sorry that it sounded to you like I was telling you to only do Cinder work. I'll message you later. So, alright. Question number 1. Where is the external pressure from Redacted? Because nowhere in here is Redacted pressuring Nano to cancel Silvervale's model. In fact, if you look at the message that Redacted sent at 11:34 a.m., he clarifies himself saying, we're not trying to make you only do Cinder work. He literally just clarifies that. So, where is the external pressure coming from that Silvervale claims here? Right here. External pressure. Okay, and then another thing to point out is Redacted stated 11:31 a.m. You didn't tell Silver you canceled because of Cinder, did you? Asking a question, but I can understand why people would look at this and be like, oh, it's implied he did it because of Cinder, right? But then here's the thing. Here's the thing that throws me off, that I didn't think about until someone mentioned it to me the other day. At 11:34 a.m., 3 minutes after that message, Natalie said, I would never blame anyone besides Mio. So she wouldn't have blamed Redacted, but she'd blame Mio for the cancellation of Silvervale's model? Is that what I'm understanding here? That's the assumption I'm coming to. And if you guys are wondering who Mio is, well, I got you covered. Mio is apparently Nanolys's lover, at least to my understanding, because this is Mio's X account. And if you click on this here, it brings you to Nanolys's X account, where Nanolys says husband's Mio, and there's a heart emote for Nanolys. So Mio is Nanolys's lover, as far as I understand. So, going back to this one, she would blame her lover for the cancellation of Silvervale's model? And is that because Mio potentially could be also her manager? Because here Nanolys says, I'm sorry, my manager told me I have to cancel the most comms possible for healthy reasons. So, Nano said she wouldn't blame anyone other than Mio. And here, Nano says she told all of them it was health issues, not because of Cinder. And going back to the health issues thing, she states it blatantly right there, explicitly stating she canceled because of health reasons. So, where does Cinder and Redacted play in all of this? I guess it's this question that Redacted asked Nano. And then, not only that, realize how this convo is on November 25th, 2023. But then this screenshot goes 6 days before. So you see 11:25, 11:34 a.m., and then goes down here 11:19, 2023, 4:50 p.m. This is a screenshot. So you go from November 25th back to November 19th. And Redacted is saying, well, let's see if Geary wants a nano model or not and hope Silver finds someone else. What is going on? Why is this screenshot that happened 6 days ago at the end of a chain that happened in the future? That doesn't make sense. So what does this mean? There's a whole big thing. What does this mean? True statements, false impression. and then juxtaposition or omission, because this can be achieved by placing seemingly unrelated facts side by side. And these two could be unrelated facts, because this is a different day than this day in the convo. So there's that. So yeah, that's a characteristic of defamation by implication. And then another one, oh boy, is Shylily's reply to Sinder's apology. Now, here's the thing. She says this, and I think it's more of slander, because slander is making false statements against someone to make them look bad, but I feel like I should still bring this up. And it's right here, where Shylily says, I have experienced your own actions without Red in a situation. Let me see. I'll read the whole thing. I have experienced your own actions without Red in a situation where in your own screenshotted words you express a pressure to live up to what Lily is and proceeded to throw one of your most loyal and supportive friends under the bus after months of continuous planning just because you consistently chose business over friends, never feeling bad for failing them. I want you to focus on one specific part of this. In your own screenshotted words, you express a pressure to live up to what Lily is. Okay, sure. Focus on that. Let's go to Nanolith and Silvervale's docs to see if this is true. Is it true? All right. So we'll go to Nanolith's Google Docs. Okay. So there are 3 screenshots where Cinder's a part of, right? Okay, so these are censored. These 2 screenshots are censored, but you can find these screenshots uncensored in Silvervale's doc, which is right here. Okay, so keep in mind, Shylily states, in your own screenshotted words, living up to the pressure of Lily. Right here. Okay. Let's take a gander, shall we? Alright, looking at the first screenshot, let's see here. February 11th, 2025 at 7:18 p.m. They talk about Nanolith is stepping back on the exclusivity deal. Cinder says she understands. Nanolith is reassuring Cinder and stating she would never give Silver any priority over Silver. Nanolith is saying she would never give Silver any priority over Cinder. And then Cinder is like, it's not me but other people's opinions of us. Okay, Cinder says, I want you to get that money. And Analyst, I understand things that work about this. It would be mostly if you hate me for not burning Silver down from my list. Cinder says, I would never hate you. Analysts think you insane, so they reassure each other. On February 11th, 2025, nowhere in there was Shylily mentioned. Okay, what about the third screenshot that can be only found in Nanolith's doc? In terms of the whole, more Nano babies out there, less value Nano's work, which is part of it, which is like the section concerning my working models as a team. Okay, let's see. All right, Cinder, Nanolith is asking for clarification. Cinder saying, I'm good, what's up? And getting some clarification. Okay, Nano says, there's no personal reason. I would never do anything like this to you or anyone, but yeah, it's important for my job to reach far. Okay, and then Cinder says, I also think it's important for you to work on projects that you're excited about, so she's encouraging Nano to pursue projects she's excited about. Yeah, okay. Friends, where in those 3 screenshots that Cinder was in those convos, did Cinder say live up to the pressure of Lily? If anyone knows what Shylily is talking about, let me know. Because so far, in everything that we looked at, she wasn't even mentioned in it. It would make more sense to say live up to the pressure of Silvervale, because Cinder was compared to Silvervale, apparently. So, where is Shylily getting that information from? Was that a lie? Was that something? Like, huh? So, what does this mean? So this is going to be a really long reach. I think this would fall under the category of slander, but if you really had to choose a characteristic of defamation by implication, I would say juxtaposition or omission. So there's that. Okay, now the next thing, oops, didn't mean to open that. The next thing is also here, and it's about the V-Card collab. Here, Shylily says, just to earn the bag and compete with me over a VCard collab that you rescheduled to be on the exact date your friend needed you to keep an important promise. You actively lied about it to them. Instead of blaming me for a collab you rescheduled, adding me to the pool of excuses to save your ass when you realized you were being a bad friend. Why blame me for choosing to miss an obligation you agreed to on one of the most important days in that friend's career? Okay. So, I did a deep dive on this. And the first thing I want to bring up is, what is the important promise that Shylily is talking about? And apparently, it's talking about Cinder's commitment to attend Numi's concert, which, by the way, was on February 1st this year. As stated here by Genetic Fusion, I guess? Anyway. So, which is the same date the VCard collab with Shylily and Sinder happened. So, yeah. Shylily claims that Sinder chose to miss an obligation, right? And this was the same date as the concert, right? However, something happened, and Sinder was able to attend the concert as a cheerleader, like just there for support, and we can prove this because Bao says it herself.
Nervous. And Numi's just going around doing stuff, and all her friends are coming backstage. Junie, Matara, Vienna, Sinder,
Bao said it herself. Sinder went backstage. Not performing, mind you. She was there to support Numi. So, if we go back to this statement about choosing to miss an obligation you agreed to, but still made it. What is this? I want to say... Oh, no, I didn't mean to click on that. Whoop. I'd say juxtaposition or omission, because we need context for this. I had to look this up. And that's a stretch. Now, this one, it's a toss-up. Because technically, Sinder was going to perform with Numi, and then canceled, and then last minute went to the concert. So, Shylily says she chose to miss it. But Sinder still made it, so... Just saying. Anyway. And, yeah, it was a bit of a reach to say it's juxtaposition or omission, but I just thought I'd put it out there that some of the statements made are very interesting, to say the least. So, now, there's a lot of information, but I do want to end it on Yasu's Crash Out doc, and I feel like it's very important to read this. I feel like it has some powerful words here. Like, it carries some weight to the whole situation. So, this is just Yasu crashing out, but my final words. At the center of all this, beneath the Discord logs, the tear-stained streams, the cloud, the cowardice, the collapse, was something simple. A girl trying to create. Not perfectly, not innocently, not without mistakes, but genuinely, quietly, passionately. And somewhere along the way, she got consumed by a machine that doesn't care about intent, only optics. A machine that punishes silence and rewards spectacle, that replaces empathy with virality and calls it justice. We didn't just watch a person fall. We broke their knees, tied their hands, and pushed them off a cliff, then asked, "How could you hurt us?" We did it because it was easier than thinking. Because it felt good to pick a side. Because accountability is boring, but outrage is exciting. But when the noise dies and the views slow and the comment sections fade into static, what's left? A burned bridge, a silenced voice, and a community that's one step closer to becoming everything it claims to stand against. I wrote all this not to save Sinder, but to save what's left of you and this fucked up community. If you're still here, then ask yourself, who did you become while you weren't paying attention? When the voices got loud, when the tears started falling, when the hashtags began to burn, were you thinking or just following? Because injustice doesn't need your voice, just your indifference. YasuVF. Now, I threw a lot of stuff at you, but the main conclusion here is that the Sinder situation is indeed a potential case of defamation by implication, and I believe so with everything I've presented, understood, and interpreted. Mind you, like I said, it's very biased, so of course I injected my own personal opinion about that and interpretation, so take that with a grain of salt. So yeah, this Sinder situation is a potential case of defamation by implication, according to me. Now, with everything said, everything I used for the video will be in the description below. I encourage you, the viewer, to go to the source so that way you can come to your own independent conclusion.